you're telling people progress. Cost of living gone up 100%, yet you give public servant less. Mr. President, listen to the people. Search your soul and you will confess. I want you try surviving on the public face, then you're gonna know but stress. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. They don't drive no fear with the citizen. They may want the people speak out. Freedom of speech done gone inside the gutter. Knock off when you open your mouth. Discrimination in entertainment, and you're talking about one Guyana. When the Ministry of Culture keep the big shows, one set of girls and banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. Every picture you take and promise you make, everything you do is about clouds. Then you come into me for I shake your hand, there's nothing to smile about. Corruption inside every sector, but when it comes to them they send you. Try investigate efficiency, right? Go talk to Barrett and Sue. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up. I done fed up on the dirty water, low pressure, want scream and tell somebody. Imagine 1500 US, and they're telling me super salary. I done fed up on the unemployment racism and the lie they say one Guyana. Cause when you look with the oil money going, circulate with one set of banner. Cause I done fed up, you done fed up, he done fed up, she done fed up, we done fed up, the people fed up. You're hiding corruption inside the cup, look how evil set up. The people fed up.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. All right. Good Sunday evening, all. Welcome, welcome, welcome to this evening's broadcast. My name is Caesar, of course. Welcome to Over to You, a program for the people, by the people. It is good to be here with each and every one of you. You guys know that this is your program. It's a program for the people. I encourage you to go ahead and share the link. Okay, we must share the knowledge on this program. Share the link. Just send it to me on my phone. Send it to me on my phone. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Just some late news incoming there that I needed to receive. All right. Thank you so much, dear Mr. Gavin Caesar, for bringing that information on to me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's good to be here this evening. Again, share the link. We have a lot to talk about, and you notice that every day is somewhat eventful. Huh? Today, Sunday, the 9th day of August 2026, the first day of the week, right? We have reports coming out of the CCJ. We will discuss a little bit later on in the program. All right, I'm expecting a guest to pop in just to discuss that issue. So I will kind of put that on the back burner. All right, as we get into tonight's program, share the link, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start off with a roll call for this evening. Let's try and get in early. Miss Lydia Pick, I see you got in here early this evening, huh? You barely squeezed through the door before I start doing the roll call. Siobhan McDonald, a pleasant good evening to you. Long time no talk. Please give me a call this week. And if I get the opportunity, I'll give you a call. Marcus Skinner, a pleasant good evening to you. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. Sharon Griffith is in the house. Good evening, Miss Griffith. Good to see you. Aileen Norton is here. Good evening, Miss Norton. Always a pleasure having you here. The Freedom Fighter, Miss Sandra Hanover, is in the house. A pleasant good evening to you. Miss Darkus John is here. Good evening, Miss Darkus John. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. Let's see who else is here. Rajendra D. Knott is in the house. Good evening to you, sir. Welcome. Simone Blackmon. Good evening to you. Miss Marlene Thomas, good evening to you. Miss Mary Figueroa, Force Canadian in the house. Good to see you. Don Wilson is here. A pleasant good evening to you, Miss Wilson. Lawrence James is here. Good evening, Mr. James. Rosemary Martindale, bracket, what a name. She is in the house this evening. A pleasant good evening to you. Karen Clark is here. Good to see you. And a true freedom fighter for the cause, Miss Hazel Johnson, you always give me energy whenever you are in the house. And yes, you are fed up, and so am I. You are fed up, and so am I, and many of us on tonight's broadcast. Thank you for letting me know that you are fed up. So am I. Yvonne Meredith, a pleasant good evening to you. Mortimer McIntosh, excellent name. All right, Mortimer, we're going to speak the things tonight, my brother. We're going to speak the things like we always do. Francis Keith Rycliffe, Melanie Damashano in the house. Hey, we had big protests at Melanie there. Huh? We had big protests where we learned who was house slave and who wasn't house slave. But I got to tell you, I agree with all the activity there. If you want, you could critique me, but I agree with all the activity that would have occurred at Melanie Damashana this past week. I 100% support the activities, period. I don't have any explanation to give to anyone. Austin Ogle, my good brother, is in the house. Good evening to you. Patrick Kisun, good to see you, sir. Yvonne Rodriguez, Barbados is in the house. A pleasant good evening to you. Deslin Wilson, by way of Victoria, it's good to know that the Forest Village, all right, that our ancestors would have purchased, Victoria, having so many needs that this government cannot satisfy. Yes, they say that they care about the Africans in Guyana. Please, the hypocrisy. Good evening to you, Miss Wilson. The freedom fighter, Miss Maxine Monroe, is in the house. Yvette P. Madu is here. A pleasant good evening to you. Diane Mitchell is here, along with Sandra Sargent. Good night to you both. Miss Brenda Braithwaite is here. I hope you're doing well. Good evening to you. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Patricia Hassana is in the house. It's good to see you, Patricia. Orin Williams is here. That means we're going to have pace and power this evening. All right. Lorraine Hall, good evening to you. Good to have you here. Shanette Alicia, always in the house. Good to see you, Shanette. Patricia Gravesandi is here. A pleasant good evening to you. My good friend Akwesi Ananai is in the house. Good to see you, my brother. Shondell C. Canterbury, a pleasant good evening to you, Shondell. Angelique Abrams, good evening. Ashley H., good evening. Good to have you here. Miss Shoy D. Gibson, a very good friend of mine. Good evening. Welcome to tonight's broadcast. The Honorable Mr. Victor Ben is in the house. I see our executive producer, Mr. Gavin Caesar, is here. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Gavin, unfortunately, I cannot send out the link at this time. I will have to do any guests via the phone. Robert London, good evening. Dylan Carew, good to see you here. Deborah Cox Marcos, good to have you here. Lawrence McKenzie, good evening. Laurelie Harper, good evening. Lucy Wilberg, good to see you. Denise October, yes, Denise October, the freedom fighter, is here. Good evening. Eva, good evening to you. Laurelie Harper, I see you in the house. Patricia McFarlane, good evening. Selena Fraser is in the house. Good evening, good evening, good evening to you. If I miss your name, my apologies. All right, let's get started. Where are we going to start? Let's start quick MV Barima update from the victim's perspective. The court family would have went ahead and had a memorial today for their loved ones. Kendrick and Neil Court, the two brothers who worked the canteen on the MV Barima. And like I would have said a few programs ago, that I am of the belief that those two men lay at the bottom of the ocean right there in that said canteen that they would have worked for decades. You know, sad, 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 ladies and gentlemen. Sad, sad, sad. Who feels it knows it. All right? Who feels it knows it. Who don't feel it, they don't care. And that's the install PPPC terrorist regime. 72 counts of murder. 72 counts of murder for each of those 3 public servants, plus more. And then the Attorney General came out and said that there will be additional charges. So when you have additional charges, ladies and gentlemen, that means that the government have a preponderance of evidence, because you can't have additional charges if you have real, authentic evidence. So we sit here, ladies and gentlemen, and we await this evidence, because one thing I can promise this PPPC government is that it ain't going down like that. It just ain't going down like that. All right. Okay. I don't know from a council perspective what the families of these victims, all right, would have done so far. I am not counsel. All right. But based on prior knowledge and prior proceedings, all right, prior intelligence as to how compensation would have been laid out, ladies and gentlemen, the families can do whatever they want. But what I am going to come on tonight's program and say, because, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, it's not me or you saying it. The government came out and said that they charged those 3 public servants who operated the MV Barima with 72 plus counts of murder. And I quote, murder. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's just go back a few years ago and think about this whole thing. I believe it was $24 million that was received by the Quindon Bacchus family. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is no way that I am going to agree that any life is worth $24 million. There's no way that I am going to agree to that. All right? Because I don't believe that anybody can pay for one's life. But what I would like to say this evening, all right, is that the benchmark has been set. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about murder here. Okay? We are talking about murder. So I would say to all of those families, the benchmark starts anywhere between $24 and $30 million per an individual. Not you giving $30 million to the lady that would have lost 7 children. All right? The money is there. It's now a 50-50 sharing agreement. Whether it was that, a 50-50 sharing agreement or not, we all know that the money is there. Okay? And a price must be paid for incompetence and mediocrity. There must be a price. Because of government lawlessness and mediocrity, we have a whole lot of Guyanese sitting at the bottom of the ocean that we have been unable thus far to retrieve. I hope that the counsel for these individuals are listening in keenly because, hey, ladies and gentlemen, you guys know whenever we speak of Guyana, or if you want to put the name Guyana in the dictionary, next to it you have to put corruption. And I am not about to exempt anyone from corruption. I'm not about to do so. To those families, don't keep it to yourself. Make your situation play out in public so that you can get what you truly deserve. When the name of Kenrick and Neil Court is uttered by their family, there will be no response going forward because they're not there. They're not with us anymore. No fault of their own. No fault of their own. So I am happy to have started this program, setting that benchmark for the families. Don't settle for anything less. Don't think that you're taking anything from anybody. You're not taking anything from anybody. Your loved one is no longer with you because of government incompetence. So that government must be made to pay the price. Don't let them come and put no $600,000 in your hand and say, oh, this will be rewarded. No, make it public. Make it public. Make it public so the people can come out and shut the country down. No, we are not tolerating the behaviors of this installed government anymore. Nobody is going to force a government on the Guyanese people. No external force. No diplomatic community. No, go back to your country and deal with your government. Don't force nothing on the Guyanese people. As the joint opposition continues to strengthen and build a strong wave, I have said this right after, maybe a month or two after the last general and regional elections of 2025, that no matter how we build, no matter how much momentum we have, no matter how many supporters are behind us, we will not win an elections in Guyana without a new voters list, new house-to-house registration, and biometrics. This is mandatory. Okay? This is mandatory. We are in the month of August. The next month that we are going to be stepping into will be September. And in the month of September, it will mark 1 year since the PPPC was once again installed and placed into government. And I ask the question of the collective opposition. Ask yourself the question, have you guys moved the needle when it comes to the Guyana Elections Commission? We must not lose track of the Guyana Elections Commission. Like again, I say it again. Also, I call on the opposition, please check in with the Guyana Bureau of Statistics. That is the new place that they have Anil Giddens. And as soon as Anil Giddens show up there, all of a sudden a report came out indicating that Guyana have 1 million people. Hello? Excuse me? All right? We must stay focused. It is mandatory that we stay focused. All right? So, There's a lot that is going on. The MV Barima tragedy is truly a tragedy. It is authentic. It happened. We cannot hide it. Okay? That must be addressed. The MV Barima tragedy must be priority. The opposition parties needs to come together as a collective. All right? Come together as a collective. And from each party, you select a few people, you form a committee, and you have that committee addressing the MV Barima tragedy. Again, you choose a few people, you put together another committee, and that committee, the target is the Guyana Elections Commission. All right? Every committee should be allowed the latitude to call a protest whenever they deem fit. We have to start getting, strategic. All right? The internal stuff, there's nothing internal anymore. Forget that. Stop taking jabs at each other. Stop taking jabs at each other. It's time to put down the internal gloves and put on the external gloves. Everything now must be PPP targeted. Okay? PPP targeted. And let me say this. Let me be lucidly clear, because, I must get my say. I must get my say. All right? We must get our say. I came out yesterday and I spoke of how much I endorsed and appreciate the protests that I would have seen last week. But let me say this. There is still quite a bit of work to be done. All right? There is still quite a bit of work to be done when it comes to everybody getting together and acting as a collective. Because not too far removed, former MP Miss Annette Ferguson, an activist and WPA member Mr. Kedaki Amsterdam would have also called for protest. All right? And a lot of people didn't show up. Ladies and gentlemen, leaders within all parties, I am watching your egos. And don't forget, I have no fear in calling anyone's name. No fear. None at all. All right? I'm the type of guy when you say come downstairs, I will truly come downstairs. Let's stop it. All right? Everything don't have to be about certain individuals. Any individual who see there's a need for a protest should be able to call a protest. You don't have to be in parliament to call an effective protest. You don't have to, or not because you're in parliament and somebody who is not in parliament calls a protest, you're not going to support it. Not because you are PNC and the WPA call a protest, you're not going to support it. Remember, it is that WPA and a few other small parties that comes together as a collective, along with the PNCR, to form what we now call the APNU coalition. We must remember these things. Of course, independent parties are given the latitude to have any little thing they want to have. But at the same time, the president's bill wasn't any little thing. It is a national issue. And I believe that all unsundry should have been present. Look, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not critiquing anybody. I'm just laying the groundwork, laying down the groundwork as to, in my opinion, how I feel it should be done. This is not about whose light is going to shine the most. This is not about who is going to get the people to like them the most. This is all about execution on behalf of the people. And no one man is not going to execute and change the narrative. If there's any one man who believes that he alone, he has the strength, he has the wherewithal and the grit to remove the PPPC on his own, I would like to see that man, because I don't see one so far. Identify yourself if you believe that you are that man or woman. I pause a second, ladies and gentlemen, to just check on your comments, because you guys are equally involved in this program. Correct. Deborah Cox Marcus. Correct. 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 I just wanted to extract. I just wanted to extract Miss Cox Marcus. The murder. That's the word I wanted to capture out of the whole statement. Right? Murder. We know that those 3 men shouldn't be locked up. We know this. Okay? We know this. And eventually this has to fall back on the government. It has to. Those 3 men are not going down. This corrupt government is not going to lose those 3 gentlemen in jail. We should not sit down and allow that. We should not. I personally know that I will do everything in my power, whether it's attorney's fees or whatever it is, in my power to make sure that those 3 brothers are not lost away in prison because they're being charged wrongfully. Okay? The country is now being ruled by a dictatorship government, and those 3 public servants, all right? They are public servants. They serve this government. Let's keep that in mind. So all of you that are doing public service, you should be opening your eyes and ready to protest on their behalf. You should be. Listen, I ain't got no question about our teachers. Because as soon as you say protest, the teacher is ready to jump. But our nurses, man, there's going to be a time where you guys are going to crack. You're going to understand that you're not being paid enough, you're not being compensated properly, and you're going to want to come to the forefront. And the people might not be ready to respond to you guys because they would have looked at your track record when the teachers were out there. I'm only saying. Good evening, Charlene A. Moses. Good to see you here. Of course, the government knows it's a lie. Mary Figueroa, they know that. They don't have anything. Yes, Miss Hazel Johnson. And I did say it. And I thank you for clarifying it. All right? Money, we could never pay enough money for life. Okay? They don't equal. Carl Miller, good evening. Look, it's going to be a year in September. All right? It's going to be a year in September. As a collective opposition, everyone needs to go back to the drawing board and ask themselves, what have they accomplished in this first year? All right? And really put systems in place to really move the needle for the second year. All right, if you say you use the first year to really get yourself set and to strategize as to where your targets are going to be, somewhat I will say okay and allow the latitude of that. But that doesn't mean because I'm saying okay, it means that the people are saying okay. Because sometimes I speak for the people, but sometimes the people don't want me speaking for them. They want to speak for themselves, which they're fully capable of doing. All right? They're fully capable of doing that. We're moving forward, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving forward 24 minutes before the hour of 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in the United States of America. And I'm believing it is the same on the ground in Georgetown, Guyana. Now, again, the profit sharing, at least for Liza 1, is going to be changed into 50-50. Right? We got to ask ourselves the questions, ladies and gentlemen. What is the plan for the pensioners? Because let's be honest, $46,000 ain't even close to cutting it. I would actually want to more than double that. Because I was calling for a $70,000 pension since 2020, 2021. 2021 to be exact. And when we look at inflation from that time to now, we should be over $100,000. As far as pension, and some people might open their eyes and say, what is he talking about? I can talk about that. The country has less than 1 million people. Hello? The country has less than 1 million people. Cost of living is through the roof. Inflation is through the roof. Government have no control over nothing. Government don't have any kind of control over how many businesses the Chinese open and how far apart the businesses are. There's no government regulation to that. The Chinese are free to do whatever they want to do. They're not paying duties on goods coming in, amongst other things. All right? Let's remember that. Let's keep that in mind. Alistair Rutledge, the guy from ExxonMobil. Again, the guy came out and said that it was a big accomplishment for the Cooperative Republic of Guyana to have been able to pay back ExxonMobil their upfront investment in the whole oil extraction process for Liza 1 of $55 billion US before the time, ladies and gentlemen. Before the time. So we did it early. It was done early, ladies and gentlemen. Early. So that's a great thing. That's a great thing for us. He was hoping to meet with Barry Jagdeo. No, you would have expected Barry Jagdeo to be rushing out there to meet with ExxonMobil, because he would have been looking forward for this additional money coming in so that they can take care finally of the people of Guyana. And the question also is asked, why is Alistair Rutledge waiting on Barry Jagdeo? Barry Jagdeo is not a sitting president of Guyana. But ladies and gentlemen, it paints the picture right there for you. Right? It paints the picture right there for you. Also, ladies and gentlemen, I have not heard anything about a windfall, because we should be getting a windfall, a massive windfall, ladies and gentlemen. You may ask Wayne why. Because look at the oil prices. All right, look at the oil prices. Oil prices are up. That means that we are getting more revenue that was anticipated and that was budgeted or estimated. Let's use the word estimated. We have a surplus in revenue, and that is what you call a windfall because of the oil prices. And you notice the oil prices are high and they're staying steady. Guyana has become key now when it comes to oil production around the world, because we have to be able to substitute for the 20 plus or however 20 plus percent or whatever it is. It's a high percentage that comes through the strait that is now closed. Right? Where is all that money gonna go, ladies and gentlemen? Where's all that money gonna go? And look, ladies and gentlemen, you know, when you work for people and you work to try to achieve a goal satisfying the well-being of the people, when you're looking at a 60% poverty rate, when you're looking at a 35% abject poverty rate, all right, you feel it because that's all you think about. And you're looking for solutions. And I said it yesterday, you know, we've had this country for 60 years. We need to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what have we achieved? If you ask me to look from a voting perspective, from an elections perspective, from a GCOM perspective, it looks like if we've done absolutely nothing. When the Carter Center has to come into Guyana and direct us, all right, we have done nothing. When you look at us from an ethnic perspective, and everybody is at each other, particularly the Africans and the East Indians, they have been clashing for decades. Nobody has come in and tried to smooth that process. All right? Because to have them divided and fighting each other is good enough for you to come and conquer the nation's resources. And sometimes you want to ask the question how stupid some of the leaders are. Yes, I'm going to ask that question. They sit down and allow this stuff. This stuff is glaring right before them. And they sit down and they allow it. And I find that people have the temerity to say that Barry Jagdeo is a smart man. And I ask myself the question, smart in what way? What has this man accomplished? Please, somebody write it down, bullet point it, and send it to me. This is like the umpteenth time I'm asking for this. But yet the Guyanese people continue to worship mediocrity. Look, I don't know about you guys, but I cannot tolerate it any longer. I just can't. We've got to up our levels. Guyana does not belong to Barry Jagdeo. All right? Guyana belongs to we the people. All the people of Guyana. No matter race, class, gender, everybody. One people, one nation, one destiny. All you've gotten, under One Guyana is tragedies. We don't want that. We don't want that. Forget that One Guyana nonsense. One Guyana equals murder. One Guyana equals to Madia. One Guyana equals to Adriana Young. One Guyana equals to the Henry Boys. One Guyana equals to the MV Barima. One Guyana equals to dictatorship. That's what it equals to. And we don't want it anymore. We don't want it anymore. We are tired of One Guyana. One Guyana has continually failed the people. One Guyana equals to coffee water coming through your pipe, coffee, carambola, orange. One Guyana equals to continual blackouts. One Guyana equals to widespread corruption from top to bottom. Everything, all ministries. And One Guyana equals to good, a good bottom line, a good earning per share for the investors. And it equals to zero for the Guyanese people. That's One Guyana, ladies and gentlemen. Tell me I'm wrong. One Guyana equals to $22,000 or $25,000, whatever it is, welfare. When inflation and cost of living is through the roof. That's your One Guyana. And some of you saying, running and hugging up my handsome president. Come on, guys. You got a brain in your head. Start using it. Don't allow me the latitude to believe that you're special. Please don't. Use your brain. All right? You want to be out there? You want to be on camera? Be on camera for the right reasons. All right? And whatever your experience is, it's not representative of the treatment that Africans get in their own country. Let's remember that the Africans outside of some of the Amerindian tribes, the indigenous tribes, some of them, not all of them were not present in Guyana before the Africans. Only some of them. So please think the Africans would have occupied Guyana for a very, very long time. All right? And they would have accepted you as indentured servants. Don't forget that when you came to Guyana, you found an emancipated people. Don't let's get tied up. Do not let us get tied up. Treat the people, for a matter of fact, all Guyanese, with a measure of dignity and respect. The focus is going to continue to be the MV Barima tragedy. That's going to continue to be the focus. But we must put together committees and groups that are going to be focusing on GCOM, that's going to be focusing on government services, meaning water, light, and all the services that government provides to the people of Guyana, to make sure that those services are up to par. Enough talk. We have done enough of that. It is time for action. Don't allow people like James Bond to come in the frame and talk about the opposition this and the opposition that. James Bond is exactly what the people at Melanie would have called him. Do not allow such distraction. All right? James Bond ain't no leader. All right? James Bond is not any leader. He is a failed attorney at law. He has failed. Okay? And if he has failed, that means that he has failed to prepare, because to fail to prepare is to prepare to fail. That's why he now got to go with a nice empty red cup and push it under and try to get some soup. Okay? Okay, James, I need soup. All right? I ain't leave from holding an umbrella to pushing a red cup for soup. I am pretty consistent. Okay? We, the people, are pretty consistent. All right? Pick a side. Pick a lane. Don't be jumping lanes. All right? How can anybody trust you? You just left the APNU. You just left them. And when you're done, you raise up your frack and you turn around for abuse the APNU like a little girl. Yeah? Come on, man. Come on, guy. Please. Call me downstairs. I'm ready for you. Dr. Campbell was nice. Dr. Campbell was nice, boy. You're lucky. You're lucky. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I pause to look at your comments here for a second. Eh? Siobhan McDonald, the government must bring up that boat. Yes. And they're waiting to bring up the boat, because when they bring up the boat, the people are gonna can't identify their families and what kind of DNA systems we have in place to track anything. You see how these guys cruel? Y'all see how these guys cruel? They're cruel, man. They don't care. They don't treat the Guyanese like if they're human beings. All right, Shoy D. Gibson. This is no time for egos. This is time to bring peace to the nation and those who are in mourning and those who are still in suspense of where their family members' remains are. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Shoy. Thank you. Maxine Monroe. Maxine Monroe, you know. Maxine Monroe said, where did I know that you can more than come downstairs? Listen, I got a passion to serve the people, man, that it would be very, very hard to match. All right? I would come home. I am in a position where I can come home to Guyana and serve the people for free. All right? And I wouldn't turn it down. Once the position is one that I can have an impact on the lives of Guyanese, their quality of life, okay, I would do it in a second, in a heartbeat. Because this is all about the Guyanese people. It is all about the Guyanese people. Again, man, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that the PNCR, the People's National Congress reform, has a critical biannual Congress. This next one that is coming up. All right? A critical biannual Congress. And I am still of the belief that when it comes to moral values, this party is 100 stories over all the other parties. When it comes to being authentic, to being clean, and to be lacking when we speak of corruption, again, this party is 100 stories above all the other parties. All right? Guyanese, let me say this to you. It is not money that is going to change your fortunes. It is policy that is going to change your fortune. Money comes and goes. Policies, good policies, stays in place. And when you want to speak of good policy, I am not being biased. I am not being biased. Let me don't talk about no PPP policy here. We can't talk about PPP policy. Because PPP policy is where you see with the MV Barima and Madio and Adriana Young. That's PPP policy right there. So there's nothing to talk about there. And the Henry Boys and Blackout and Coffee Water and bulldozing. That's your PPP policy in a nutshell right there. So we can't talk about that. But y'all know when it comes to policy that the first thing I gonna lay down is rent to own. Boy, that's the best thing, ladies and gentlemen. That's the best thing I have heard since I've been doing programs. All right? Because when I hear about rent to own, I think of the big picture. And you know what's the big picture? Rent to own can have a massive impact when it comes to alleviating poverty. Rent to own, having a good job creation system, both publicly and privately, having a sturdy, durable education system, like we had under the late great Lyndon Forbes Sampson Barnum, okay, where he was not scared for his people to be educated. Jack Dio, a la Jack Dio, who is scared to see the people of Guyana be educated. We all know what an educated nation can do. We know this. They can question government. They can question their policies. Us Guyanese, we need some strong education. When you could go, all right, to the voting booth and sell your vote, man, that's not good. That's not good. And I hope that you guys that would have done this are capable enough to learn. Because if you have sold your vote for $50,000 or $100,000, you know, land a $50,000 done, you know, land $100,000 done. Tell me what that little frick would have done to sustain the life of you and your family. Tell me. Tell me. Ladies and gentlemen, in my thinking, I wanted to bring you guys, give you guys a little more on this program. So what I'm going to do this week, I'm going to try to reach out to some young men from the APNU. I'm going to have two sessions. I'm going to have one with the young men. I'm going to have one with the young women of the APNU, and I'm going to ask them some critical questions. All right? I'm going to ask them some critical questions. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like if we're coming up on program time. Let me look and see. Yes, we're coming up on program time. I was hoping to have somebody on so that we could have discussed the issue at the CCJ with regards to the justices and what's happening there. But it looks like if we have hit program time, ladies and gentlemen. So, okay, we haven't hit program time yet. Not quite yet. All right. I will continue. All right. The executive producer said, no, not yet. But like I was saying before, we are going to try to bring on some young people. And these young people, guys, they are good young people because they had the opportunity to cross the aisle and they choose not to. All right, so we're going to bring them on. We're going to ask them questions. I'm going to ask them questions. I'm going to field questions from you guys because it's important. This is your show. I shouldn't ask all the questions. It's not about me, it's about you. Okay? We're going to ask them questions and we're going to just, have a good conversation. All right. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am hoping that very soon that my guests will be coming on and we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk about a few things, a few important things, right? To those Guyanese and people in general who resides in the United States of America. As you guys have seen, there's been a lot of policy changes. This administration is pushing for a lot of things, all right, when it comes to citizenship, amongst other things. And I believe that we need to be up to date. We need to be aware, all right? Those of you who plan to come out of Guyana and vacation up here, there's things that you need to understand. I believe that sometimes when you get here, is then they tell you how long you can stay. And I think for the most part, from what people have told me, they have been getting 2 weeks. I haven't seen anybody that has told me that they have gotten more than 2 weeks. Because that I'm going to have a guest that's going to come on. And also, again, we're going to talk about what's happening at the CCJ and where that leaves Guyana, right? And if it is that we have to go back and look at some of the decisions that the CCJ would have made in the past. All right. So, a pleasant good evening to you, Mr. Benchop. Welcome to Over to You, a program for the people, by the people, the people's program. Welcome, sir.
Yes, get to your first question. Thank you.
Well, you didn't
good evening.
My audience.
Yeah. And good evening to all of your listeners and everyone wherever they are, whether they are in Trinidad and Tobago, whether they live a stone throw away from the CCJ, whether they live wherever they live, whether they're in Brooklyn, whether they're in Queens, whether they're in Canada, Haiti, wherever they are. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening to you, Mark, and thank you for taking the time to come on this evening on short notice. I see that you're very well dressed. And a lot of the audience here is saying a pleasant good evening to you. Just want to respond back so that you could know that they're saying good evening to you. Let me get on with my first my first question. Mr. Benchop, with regards to immigration matters, I see people are giving different numbers here. Can you update us generally as to what's going on in the whole immigration framework? Because this administration is making a lot of decisions and they're making the decisions very quickly on the fly. So can you just update us, please? Thank God your cup is now red.
Yeah, good evening to all of your listeners, every single one of them. They know who they are. On the immigration front of things, lots and lots of contradictory things. People go to bed and you don't know what to expect the next morning. There's no consistency across the board. The Haitians are feeling the squeeze right now. Hundreds of thousands of Haitians, our Haitian brothers and sisters, are really feeling the squeeze right now. And we just want to extend our support and our prayers for our Haitian brothers and sisters. TPS is basically, it has been suspended, and those who have been granted TPS, it simply means TPS is temporary protective status. TPS, temporary protective status, it simply means that those who came from countries that maybe countries that have some serious problems, and we all know that Haiti does have some serious problems, and that's what's happening right now. And so the Trump administration has decided that they are going to, of course, they've asked the court, and they sued. They appealed the matter, and the court has decided that they are going to suspend all TPS for Haitian nationals. That by itself is a human rights violations. We already know what's happening in Haiti with the gang warfares and all these things, and it's really unfair. And quite a few Haitians that I do know are very, very worried at this time. What is happening also, once the TPS is suspended, those who may have an asylum application, Haitians that is, they are now expected to be placed in removal unless they have another petition that is pending. If they are here for over 10 years and they have a child, a US citizen child, if they are married, that can be a pathway to save them. But for now, a lot of those brothers and sisters are left wide open.
Thank you, Mark.
And the other thing, as it pertains to your immigration question, is things have gotten a little tight right now, so to speak, that all applicants, if their applications are not done properly, that's one. And this is not something that is new, but as of now, they're intensifying that campaign. If your application is not done satisfactory, meaning that if they believe, not just if the applications are not done properly, if they believe that applicants are not entitled to benefits, immigration benefits at this time, the officers now, Trump give them that overall power to deny the application. So an officer can look at the application. You don't have to have anything that is incorrect on the application. But if they feel that there is not sufficient evidence to back your claim up, they are going to deny. They have that right to deny. In the past, they used to send something that is called RFE, which is a request for evidence. Trump administration is saying to the officers of Homeland Security or USCIS that they can use their discretion to deny an application full out. And all of these things have people a little antsy, a little, uneased at this time, and rightfully so, because you don't know what an officer is going to do. An officer could say, okay, well, I don't believe that this is a legitimate marriage-based petition. So the officer or officers have tremendous powers right now, and that by itself, I don't think that it is fair to applicants. As of now, through the Benchap Immigration Consultancy, we have not experienced any immediate denial of an application. But moving forward, I do believe that it is important that all applications going in have to be thoroughly reviewed. It is not because, our folks are always anxious and they want it to be done right away. Hey man, it's done. Hey man, And for me, our policy is no, not so fast. Let us review. Let us go over. Let us make sure everything is okay. Let us make sure that all the evidence or sufficient evidence is presented. So it's not a fill out an application and dash it in quickly and man, send the thing in and it doesn't work like that, at least not now. And so we take extra time in ensuring that once it's done, that it is done properly to minimize any possibility of a denial. And like I've said, thus far, there has not been any denial on the spot. And so we want to give people that opportunity to ensure that they have a fair chance. We are hoping that USCIS will give folks that opportunity for a fair chance as well, because to deny somebody's application on the spot, for me, I think it's downright wrong to the applicants. It could be a marriage-based petition. It could be a U.S. citizen child over the age of 21 filing for his or her parent. It could be a parent filing for a child under the age of 21. And those are what you call immediate reliefs, because within 3 to 4 or 5 months, individuals under those categories can possibly get, and I'm being very careful here, can possibly get their green card approved once everything goes well with the interview. And we have seen fast turnaround within 3 months, within 4 months, within 5 months. There are some who have been waiting longer than that, and that is because USCIS sees that there is something else that is happening, maybe with another application that was placed in the system, and that application was badly done by maybe someone else. Maybe there's a red flag, and maybe that person has been placed on what is called removal. And so there are lots and lots of things that's happening behind the scene. So it's just not an overnight thing that you send in your application or you give us your application and it's done right away. It has to be done properly. And this is what we say to all of our clients. It has to be done properly, and you have to be patient.
So, Mr. Benchop, basically you're saying to me that it is a process, and in that process it will take some time. It's not 1, 2, 3.
No, it's not. There are lots of cases that are not 1, 2, 3. For example, a marriage-based petition, you have to have the evidence. You have to have the right application forms. If you send in the wrong application forms, like the wrong year, they are going to reject it. But as of now, what Trump is saying, that officers now have the power not just to reject an application, he's saying deny the application. Officers have the power now to deny the application. And so Mark, that by itself is dangerous. Yeah.
So may I ask, when an application is denied, that means loss of fees, and you have to reapply and pay those fees again? I mean, what happens in that case when it is denied completely? Do you have an opportunity?
Yeah, that's a good question. When an application is denied, it means that they have found one, USCIS may give the reason why, or reasons why. If it's a marriage-based petition, most times marriage-based petitions are denied after the interview. Because if they don't believe the husband and wife during the interview session, that is why we say, and I go the extra mile to prep our clients, marriage-based petition clients. We don't have to do it, but we just do it because as a matter of courtesy, because we want all of our clients to be successful. And so once the applications are in, the applications are accepted, and then there's a biometric appointment. You go through that, then you have to wait now for an interview date. Once the interview date is set, the objective of the interview is to ensure that the husband and wife know each other and that it is not a fraudulent marriage. And that is why it's important that when you walk into that interview and they ask questions, you got to know about each other. You can a question asked and you don't know about your husband, and your wife doesn't know about you. You don't know what part of the house is the bathroom, or what's the color of your bedroom, or where did you guys meet, who proposed to who. These are questions, and they do ask personal questions as well. What was the color of your underwear you had on last night? Whether you took a shower before you come into the interview? When was the last time you had intercourse? And I mean, it might sound funny to some, but those are personal questions to be expected. What are the names of your husband's kids, if they have kids? What are the names of your kids, the date of birth, and all these things? And if you can answer those things, there's a possibility that the officers are going to say, something is going on with this marriage. And so that is why we say to all of our clients, ensure that you are properly prepped before you go in there, and that you know your husband and your husband knows you. Otherwise,
so Mr. Benchop, one of the things that you should also make clear to the people is that a lot of times the husband and wife is separated, so they're not together to answer the questions sometimes.
Not really. They are tied. It depends on the officer. It depends on what the evidence that is sent in. And all of our clients, we want to ensure that they send in proper evidence, sufficient evidence to convince the officers that this is a bona fide marriage. What they're looking for is to ensure that the marriage is bona fide. Once they are satisfied based on the evidence, such as maybe letters from folks who may have attended, maybe, of course, if you have a lease in your names together, they want to see that there's a connection. So the applications cannot be just bare. You got to send it in with meat. In the past, maybe there was little bit meat, but as of now, under the Trump administration, they want like a whole cow, so to speak. You've got to send in enough meat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question from the audience here, from Mr. Colin Barnwell. Is there any appeals process for denials?
Yeah, well, let Mr. Barnwell call our office. I think he's looking for free advice. We're not going to give Mr. Barnwell any free advice today. But it's a good question, though, Mr. Barnwell, and I will answer that question. But before that, I saw there's going back to your question. If the case is denied, of course, you don't have any money. You don't get any money back. The minute they accept the case when it goes in, and acceptance of the case means when they receive the case, they review everything. If something is missed or is missing out of that application, they will reject it. The officer now has the opportunity to either reject and send back the entire package and send back your money, or the officer can just deny the entire application right there and then. Once it is denied, then the officer will say why this application is denied. Then they gave you an opportunity through what is called a 290B to, in most cases, people do have, and this is in response to Mr. Barnwell's question, in most cases, people do have that opportunity to ask for the case to be reopened. You cannot appeal. Most of the cases cannot be appealed, but you can file a 290B to ask them to revisit. And if there is new evidence that you obviously didn't submit evidence before, then in the 290B, you have that opportunity to do just that. Sometimes the 290B takes a while, and sometimes it in a snap. The fastest that I've had a 290B approved was in less than a week. Approved, and probably that's the fastest that I've had a 290B to be approved. And that person is, once a 290B is approved, then the panel who oversee that 290B, they will instruct USCIS to reopen the I-485. And once that is reopened, the denial is reversed, of course, then the USCIS officer could either one, schedule an interview for the persons, or approve the application. And that's the process. I hope that answers Mr. Barnwell's question.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I just want to add a follow-up question to that. Usually when that happens, is it fair to say that you're just about guaranteed that the application is going to go through?
I think, yes, at least 98% of the time. Once that denial is reversed through the 290B, in response to your question, yes, but there's no guarantee that it's going to, because either they can approve it or they will ask for another interview. And if you mess up at that interview again, you wouldn't expect them to approve. So it's not 100% guarantee. That is why it's always important to, when you're going in, especially for marriage-based petition, you got to know each other. Husband got to know wife. Wife got to know husband. What side of the bed you sleep on? Who sleep on which side? What did you guys have for breakfast this morning? How your husband goes to work, and all of these different things.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that answer. Look, with this whole with all the changes right now that is happening from an immigration perspective in the United States, do you believe, Mr. Benchop, that this is really targeted at the Haitian community? Because sometimes I just have a feeling that it is so targeted.
Yeah, it's targeting minority communities, basically. And the less minorities you have in this country, probably the better for these individuals. And that's just what it's seemed to be. I mean, look, everyone should know that there's a legal process. And we say to our clients, go the legal route, follow the law, follow the procedures, and all of them do. However, they seem to be this mission to deny individuals an opportunity, especially minority individuals, an opportunity to get it right in the United States of America. And in some cases that we have seen, whether on social media or wherever, a lot of individuals are being targeted for deportation or removal who have no criminal background, no arrest, no nothing. And it is just downright wrong. And while the administration is going to block all TPS for Haitians, you got free reign for the white South Africans can come to the country, they can enjoy themselves and all manner of things. And so, unfortunately, that's what we have that's happening right now. And so one of the things that we usually say to our clients is to be patient. We've got to do it right. Of course, and I always say this, that even though I am qualified as an immigration consultant with an advanced certificate in immigration law, I am not a lawyer as yet, at least not officially. However, I do fix a lot of cases that lawyers messed up. Now, I'm not knocking lawyers at all. And so, folks may be reluctant to go to a lawyer because they don't get as much information there as they get from me, because I break everything down into details, complete details. And of course, lawyers, I'm not knocking, everybody's out there to make $1. Lawyers may charge $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for some cases. Over at us at Benchap Immigration Consultancy, we just a little sugar cake money, a little tamarimbal money, and we are satisfied. We're not here to kill anybody, mind you. But yeah, I'm not here to overwork myself as well. But we are very reasonable, and I'm very attentive to individuals. Sometimes, our people, they want it to be done right away, right now, as though there's nobody else to care for in the world. But I'm always very, very surprisingly to you soft-spoken to my clients, them, and say, don't worry, we get it. It will be done. Just be patient. And then there's I know quite a few folks, because of a questionable outcome on some of their work permits and so forth. Some folks have been placed in removal, some of them behind their backs, they don't even know. And I think it's really unfair that folks who prepare these applications are not transparent to their clients, to the clients. I'm not saying any law firm or whatever, but individuals who in some instances do not know the law, they prepare applications under questionable circumstances. And when those applications are prepared under questionable circumstances, people have no control of those cases. And when they have no control of those cases, they don't know whether there's an RFE, they don't know what the individual placed in the application. And when the individual is placed in removal, unfortunately, a lot of those folks don't know. So there is a problem that's going on out there right now. And I'll say to people, be very careful. If someone is doing your application for you, it must be done properly. And I can say this without hesitation, that all of our clients at Benchap Immigration Services are in full control of their cases. Once it goes into USCIS, they get all of their documents posted to them. They get that opportunity to set up their email address to monitor the cases. So while I may have that opportunity to monitor at my end, it is strictly transparent. They get to see everything. So it is not a case where, as some folks are doing, questionable applications where they put on those applications that somebody was beaten, some grandmother interfere with somebody, grandfather interfere, and the case by itself becomes questionable. And because of that, a lot of folks are now being placed in removal behind their backs. So I've been getting a lot of calls about that as well. Somebody asked, what's the price? I don't know who's asking. Somebody asked, what's the price? The price is sugar cake money, tamarimbal. Mm-hmm. We're here to work with people, not necessarily to just grab any and anything, but we're pretty reasonable. We work with people. We understand that some people may have spent thousands of dollars and came to us with failed cases. In some instances, people paid $8,000-9,000 just for work permit, and they were not informed properly about the process. And so when they got their work permit revoked or they're placed in removal, it simply means that those individuals were not adequately or properly advised as to the process. And it's unfortunate. And I see with those individuals, if some of them are watching right now, I pray for them that this whole saga will come to an end, because some of those individuals have been unjustly placed in removal. And once you're placed in removal, you got to take a lawyer. Well, not have to, but in order to fight your case, if you can't afford a lawyer, lawyers for removal right now or deportation is $15,000-20,000. What we do at Benchop Immigration, as best as we can, we advise the individual about the process. And if there's a need for an attorney, then we say, like, for example, if someone has a criminal background, convictions, and so forth and so on, it is very risky. Those are individuals should consider taking a lawyer. The other thing that I would say, if someone is in removal and you get that removal notice, do not stay away from court. Do not allow anyone to advise you to stay away from court. You've got to show up. It is called NTA, the notice to appear, which is the master hearing. You've got to appear. If you don't appear, then the judge is going to put you immediately in removal. Now, if you are placed in removal immediately and you don't know, it means that you've been placed in removal in absentia. There's a way that you can challenge that, but you only have a certain amount of time to challenge it. And to challenge it, you have to give reasons why, that you didn't know that you didn't receive a letter. You got to show the evidence. And those things have to be served to different agencies as well. So there is a process. And so we also, I guide folks through that process and try to save them money from going to a lawyer for $20,000 or so. And that's a heck of a lot of money for people at this time, or any time. So folks, it's kind of like an ant's nest out there. People are very antsy, so to speak. They have people whose children are also caught up in this crossfire. And it's unfortunate. It's really, really unfortunate. As to citizenship too, that's a toughie. I suspect very soon they will raise the price on citizenship applications, which is $760 if filing via mail. If it's online, it's $710. I suspect also that the price for the I-130 will soon go up. Application prices will soon go up in terms of the fees to USCIS. That's just my prediction. I hope I'm wrong. And so any other question on the immigration?
Yeah, I believe that you are on point with that. The prices are going to go up. Mark, you did speak of the prices, but you didn't detail that is what is just called the filing fee. That is not the cost for the preparation of the application and all the other work that has to be done.
The cost, and I say to all of my clients, I tend to work with them. They know that I have a heart. I work with them. I'm very reasonable. That to put it in a nutshell, I'm very reasonable. I tend to see with people. And sometimes I tend to see with people too much. Sometimes when I tend to see with people, sometimes after I don't see them, if you know what I mean. So, but it's okay though. Some of them may be watching. I know at some point in time they'll reach out back to me and say, hey, sorry about that, Mark. Here you go. Right.
Yeah. I at this time I want to request our executive producer, Mr. Gavin Caesar, and our operator Lemon, if they can please put up the number for Benchop Immigration Consultancy. We have people in the audience that is requesting that number. If we can just put it up on screen. Okay, thank you. I believe that we can continue our conversation.
The other thing too, Wayne, is financial documents. If somebody, as of September, if someone is on someone is deemed a public charge, meaning they're on welfare or whatever, then as of September, those applications will be difficult. quite difficult to overcome. And so a lot of things that's being done to make it difficult for individuals to apply. And I think, I think it's really unfair to a lot of applicants. We noticed the Trump administration and the birthright citizen, he's coming up now with another plan and so forth. And so, I see this as being over pretty soon. The midterms elections is coming up, and then follow up with that would be the presidential elections, and folks have to go out and do what is right in order to reverse, in my opinion, to reverse this sort of injustices that we're seeing. Again, I say every country, you have to have laws, you have to have rules. Who's coming across your borders? You have to have laws, you have to have rules. But sometimes we see things are being twisted, and when they're twisted, it becomes questionable. You want to know why. Why the Haitians, those gang-infested communities, killings upon killings, and you remove TPS from the Haitians and you're allowing others to enter the country. Lots and lots of things that's happening on the immigration front. For those who are a bit nervous because they hear that ICE is out there, ICE is there, ICE is here, ICE is all over, they're panicking. I say to those individuals, be careful, be cautious, don't move wild. And for those who have a pending family-based petition, if they have a strong petition in the system, walk with copies of your documents. Sometimes it works, most times it works. If you are in removal and it's being heard via the court, also, that is important to note, because you're not going to be picked up just like that. Officers do have that, they do have that leverage to use their discretion and so forth. But those who do have arrests and they have convictions and so forth, you've got to be extra careful. Even for those who with green cards and are traveling out and so forth, be extra careful before you travel. Be certain that your arrest or whatever, because the officers at the airport, they have full opportunity to do, or Trump has given them that full leverage to do as they please. And so be extra careful. If you are out of status, meaning, we don't use the word illegal any longer, but if you are out of status, be careful when you travel, even domestic flights. Be careful. Just be careful. A lot of people don't know. They feel they want to jump and go to Florida, they want to jump and go here and there. Be extra careful, guys, because it's tough time. It's a tough time. And people are nervous. Look, I have people call me 11:30 in the night, 12 o'clock in the night. Should I get angry? Sometimes, we're all human beings, and I'm tempted to get angry, but I tend to put my human rights hat back on. And I'm like, I see with individuals. I'm not in their shoes, but I see with them. I understand them. And so if someone calls me at 11 o'clock in the night with a quick question, it simply means they're nervous. It simply means they're frustrated. It simply means they're scared. And so I would want to treat that person with respect. Right? Even though it's 11 o'clock in the night, even though it's 5 o'clock in the mornings, sometimes people just can't control themselves. And I tend to be lenient, even though sometimes I'm like, at 11 o'clock in the night, couldn't we talk about this tomorrow morning? And so, I'm that kind of guy that I would see with individuals. But it doesn't mean that everybody got to call me late. Today I got some calls, it's Sunday, because people have questions, and I understand.
Yeah, look, I agree with you. Some people, they just get frustrated, they get desperate, Mark, and that there's normal reactions, when people are under the gun, they're under pressure. And one thing that I believe that this administration would have forgotten is that this nation was built by immigrants. All right, this nation does not belong to no one ethnic group, right? It was built.
Absolutely. Everybody plays a role.
Correct.
Correct. My folks have been in the U.S. for over 60-odd years. I I have folks who have served and continue to serve. I have a nephew right now in Saudi Arabia. I have my uncle. I myself was recruited, but I mean, army is not. Come on, man. But I have lots of relatives who are in law enforcement. They're sheriffs. They're in NYPD. Some of them are in Homeland Security. They're all over. And I bet there are others out there as well. Folks who are in the military, and our folks serve brave enough to go out and fight for the United States of America, because this is our second home, away from home, and we know nowhere else other than between Guyana and the United States of America. My kids are all here, and so they're Americans. So what else do you want? This is our home, and so the immigration law, at some point in time, they have to come to some sort of compromise with even individuals who have been ducking and hiding for 15, 20 years with no criminal background, no arrests or anything like that. Those folks should not be allowed to suffer the consequences because of somebody who feels people who don't look like them should get the hell out of the United States of America. It's just unfair.
Thank you so much, Mark. I would have promised the viewers. I mean, if you have anything else to say on the immigration front, please go ahead. Go ahead.
I just want individuals to remain calm. Be very careful, though, in terms of the preparation of your documents. Do not allow anybody to tell you that they could get you, whether it's a work permit, whether it's this or that. Be careful with those sort of things. Be careful with your application process. Ensure that once your applications are in, you get to see the fact that your stuff is being processed and so forth and so on, especially through adjustment of status. You do your medical, all these things have to go in. The other thing that is big right now, I don't know what's happening at USCIS because a lot of glitches that is going on. Folks are not receiving their letters. I have one client who came, they have not received their letters for a second interview. And since they didn't receive that letter, they issued a denial to the person. And so when the person came to me, two different persons prepared their documents, but it was too late. The person was already denied. And when I checked the person's case, they have a strong case, strong evidence of a bona fide marriage. They own a home together. They've been married for about 5-6 years. And I'm like, what's going on with this case? What's happening? So, folks got to be extra careful as well. USCIS, I think they issued a statement the other day. Some folks got revocation of work permit when they should not have. Folks are not receiving their letters. And so there are lots of glitches that's going on inside USCIS as well. And I'm told that they're working on all these different glitches that is happening because people really want to be unified with their loved ones. And in most cases, removal should not be the option at all. But let me also say that if you are in removal, anyone out there, if you are in removal, it is not the end of the world. I know of maybe about 3 or 4 of my clients, folks who came to me after they were denied and they were placed in removal, and their removal was canceled, and the judge ordered that their 485, which is their their green card application, be granted. And so I say all of this, there's always a remedy. Do not give up at all. There's always a remedy, and you can get through regardless of the circumstances. What I say, you will fight. And what we do at Bensharp Immigration Consultancy, we fight for you all the way to the end. We fight a clean fight. We fight a fight based on the laws. We fight a fight based on procedures. And we say, let us follow the law. Let us follow the procedures. Let us present evidence to back your case up. Concrete evidence. whether it is your marriage, whether it's more photographs, whether it's living together, whether it's having a child together. Let us present the evidence. Let us fight a clean fight for you. And that is what we do. So to all of you who are going through what you're going through right now, as the late Jesse Jackson would say, keep hope alive. Don't give up. Be patient. Thank you for that opportunity, Mr. Caesar, and thanks to all of your listeners as well. I know what's going through your mind right now is CCJ.
No, one more thing I would like to add to what Mark would have just said, right? Don't get over anxious and run and get a lawyer. Let's keep in mind that what we're talking about here is immigration matters, and not every lawyer have the necessary competence when it comes to immigration matters. You may need a bona fide person who understands the system, who understands what you need. You understand me? And who would be able to actually execute and help you. You don't want a lawyer who doesn't know about immigration to go there and is struggling, because then it's going to delay everything for you, and it's also a chance that your application can be completely wrong.
I just want to say that folks have that right, and I don't disagree with you, but folks have that right, whether they want to go through a lawyer, whatever it is that they want, as long as they're comfortable with that individual, whether that individual is a lawyer or not a lawyer. In my case, as I've said, I don't do applications off the top of my head. I do have an advanced certificate in immigration law, and so I do things based on the law, my knowledge of immigration law. And but folks have that right if they are comfortable with a family member, if they're comfortable with a friend, if they're comfortable with a lawyer, or if they're comfortable with me doing that. It's quite okay. The call is up to the individual to do what they feel that is right. And let me give you a quick about somebody in removal. I mentioned that if you're in removal, it's not the end of the world. You can appeal that, or it is called a motion to have it reopened, and you have 30 days or so to do that. If it's done, then the judge can reopen that, set aside that removal order because you didn't turn up. There's a process. And right now, a couple of days ago, we served ICE, we served the Homeland Security and the legal Department of Homeland Security on a particular case to have that removal order set aside for now, and to grant that individual a new date so that that person can appear. So now I'm breaking that down. Once that person gets a new date and they have a strong petition pending, whether it's a marriage-based petition or through a U.S. citizen child who's over the age of 21, it gives that person an opportunity to be heard in front of the judge, and the judge will use his or her discretion as to whether to set aside the removal order and ask USCIS to now deal with the pending applications. There are lots of ways that these things can be done. The unfortunate thing, though, is that the process, you have to go through that process. Folks, sometimes I wish they don't go through that process. They just get an approval, but at the end of the day, you still have to go through that process. And I say to individuals, those who have a strong case, a strong chance to win that removal order, I say to them, let's do it. But if there come a time that you may need a lawyer, for example, if there's any arrest or a criminal background or whatever, then I would say, hey, get a lawyer. But I guide all of my clients and say, let us do it. And that's what I'm here for.
Thank you so much. As promised, as I would have promised the listeners and viewers, that we were going to touch on the CCJ this evening and what is happening with that court right now and Justice Anderson. Okay. Mark, I know that you're very familiar with Justice Anderson, so am I.
Now, I'm not familiar with a lot of them, but I've been seeing their names for a while.
Right.
And so, and I can just spend maybe 1 or 2 minutes on the CCJ matter.
Yes, please.
Because
Please, I just want,
yeah,
I
it might just boil me up right now, and I just prefer to leave on a good note with the immigration front of things. But preempting your question about the CCJ is that the CCJ, nothing has changed. We have seen the colors of the CCJ during the 2020 general and regional elections in Guyana, and the manner in which they handled the petitions. We all knew that the coalition, David Granger, they won the 2020 elections. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And the Caribbean Court of Justice did an injustice to the people of Guyana by siding with a corrupt government. And most Guyanese, most right-thinking Guyanese are of the view that, of course, the results were indeed questionable. And as a result of the results being questionable, the justices themselves now were put on a stage where people no longer trust them. Now, this is 20 years. I think in April of 2005, the formation of the CCJ. The headquarters of the CCJ is in Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad is not a member of the CCJ. Jamaica is not a member of the CCJ. Most CARICOM countries are not members of the CCJ. And that by itself, you have to ask yourself, why? Why? The budget for the CCJ is hundreds of millions of dollars, and taxpayers of Guyana have to pay that. And it seems as though the taxpayers of Guyana are paying for their oppression. Because if you have a CCJ, that is the final court of Guyana, and they're not dispensing justice, it's always questionable, as it, especially in the 2020 elections results that we saw at the CCJ level. Lots of people were satisfied. They were happy. Oh, the CCJ did a good thing, and all sorts of things they said then. And now the table turned now. A lot of the people who supported the CCJ then, when they got rid of the Granger-led government, are now upset and are now saying that the CCJ is corrupt, when in fact people have been questioning the CCJ and their ruling since 2020. And those who were happy with the results then were clapping. They were enjoying it. And now suddenly they're crying. Now, I'm not saying that because it happened then and they were smiling and it ruled in their favor, and now things are beginning to show evidence coming out to prove those of us who were of the view then that something wasn't right with the CCJ. If something wasn't right then, y'all think overnight something is going to be right now? And don't think that because of the recent hearing with the Mohammeds make it not right. It was not right in 2020. And based on what we are seeing, the situation there has nothing to do where the decision would have been otherwise. No, the issue, it appears, has to do with allegations that the president of the CCJ, Mr. Winston Anderson, wants to dictate. And based on what we're reading, is that he wanted a hearing as quickly as possible, maybe, on the Mohammeds matter. The other judges says they need time so that they can dispense justice in a fair manner, which is good, which is fair enough. That is what judges should do. But we didn't see that sort of dispensation of justice with the petition in 2020. They all sat down and they were willing and ready, especially Justice Anderson. Not Anderson, sorry, Justice Saunders. Of the court then, to cook the goose of PNC and APNO and AFC, cook the goose of the David Granger-led administration. And a lot of us questioned those decisions. And then when they come to Guyana, they go and they visit the so-called president, they visit all these people, as we can see what they did with regards to with Justice Saunders. Here is Justice Saunders with almost all of these top brass for the PPP, meeting, sitting and chit-chatting with them. But these same justices, when they go to other countries, maybe right there in Trinidad, you don't see them with the politicians. In Belize, you don't see them with the politicians. In Barbados, you don't see them with the politicians. In the other countries that make up CARICOM, you don't see them, make up the CCJ. You don't see them with the politicians. But why is it every single time they got to go to Guyana, like Sanders did in 2022, and he paid a courtesy call? Why a courtesy call to these politicians? Nobody could say why. And then you have the new president, Winston Anderson, the same thing, meeting with these individuals, meeting with opposition politicians and so forth. There's no need for these meetings. These guys at the CCJ, these justices, are not campaigning for anything. They are justices and they need to remain impartial. There should be no meeting with no head of state, no nothing. Absolutely not. And when these meetings take place, it leaves the general public, members of the general public, to be suspicious of what is happening. As Sanders was in Guyana 2022, he met only with these vagabonds in the PPP regime. And many folks were questioning this meeting, questioning whether Bromberg, Guyanese love their Bromberg and so forth. But Sanders refused to meet with opposition politicians. But he met with these guys. And because of this, the perception of corruption is ranking extremely high. They don't go other places and meet with those leaders. When was the last time you saw them with Maya Motley of Barbados or Belize Prime Minister and so forth? They don't meet, only in Guyana. And therefore, when these decisions are rendered, the public perception is that there is some form of corruption that took place. Now, this is not to paint all of the justices of the CCJ with the same brush. They may be good ones. But definitely, what we do know is that there are some bad eggs and bad apples inside of the CCJ. And these bad apples and bad eggs didn't happen, they didn't come about overnight. We start to see it since 2020, when it is my view that the CCJ accommodated the corrupt PPP regime and handed them the elections in 2020 under questionable circumstances, of course. And as of now, 2026, nothing has changed. Absolutely nothing. The very individual that they're targeting right now, Justice Winston Anderson, anybody that is watching right now, go right back and take a look at his position during the 2020 elections petition for Guyana. Go and take a look at his position, and you would see that his position didn't set right with the majority of the justices, because it appears that he was leaning towards, of course, fairness. He knew possibly that something may have gone wrong. And so go and read and check his position out then. He seemed to be one of the very few justices that wanted justice and wanted to ensure that the right set of people get back into government. But now it seems as though the table has turned and the firing squads are going after him as of now. And let me say to Neville Setals, Neville, we're having a nice discussion, man. They come in with them kind of language though. Oh man, Neville, Civic, don't do that to us, please. Not to
Civic is going to be Civic, Mark.
Don't do that, man. You're a big man, you're bright, I know you are bright, but not them language though on Sunday here, man. Come on. Nah. Yeah. So, is there any other question? Or?
Yeah. I think this is a good question. I want to pose to you. Do you think that at some point Guyana needs to move away from this court if the way that they look at cases does not change?
And it's a difficult position that Guyana is in, because almost the entire judicial system is corrupt in Guyana, controlled by the PPP regime. There might still be one or two good judges and magistrates remaining in Guyana. And again, I'm not painting everyone in the same brush, but if you leave the CCJ, you jump right back into the frying pan, the Guyana Court of Appeal, that is basically stocked with PPP operatives. At least that's the perception out there. So where does that leave people for justice? Where does it leave people? Does it leave people for justice? Sorry. And so the call might be to remove yourself, remove Guyana from the CCJ. But when you remove Guyana from the CCJ, you're right back to the Guyana Court of Appeals, and then you go scope. But one of the things, though, if Guyanese taxpayers are going to keep paying millions upon millions of dollars to the CCJ justices, they have got to get it right. And my preference is for them to get it right, because we cannot expect the Guyana Court of Appeals to get it right for us. They are going to get it right constantly for the PPP regime.
All right. On that note, I would say to all Guyanese why it is very, very important whenever there's a protest call to come out and protest, because protest does move mountains. Mr. Benchop, I am going to allow you the latitude to give your closing remarks this evening, but we must get together, soon again, because there's some other topics that I would have liked to touch on with you this evening, but I'll leave it for another evening. Your closing remarks, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I just want to say to people, open your eyes, be smart, be wise, with what is happening. Lots and lots of emotions out there, and be careful with the emotions as well. And that's all I would say as of now. Read between the lines what's happening, but just don't jump because somebody tell you jump. You're smart enough. A lot of you are smart enough, and you're reading between the lines what's happening and what's being played out as of now. But for now, I appreciate you guys. It's appreciate that with you guys. God bless you all. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. We have come to the end of tonight's broadcast. Let me give a quick shout out to Mr. Hubert Caesar, who happens to be watching this evening. That's one of my big brothers, along with Gavin Caesar. So I got to be in place if my big brothers are watching in. All right. Thank you guys for joining in this evening. I want to thank all the listeners and viewers for taking the time. We've been here now for approximately 2 hours. Thank you guys for joining this evening. Look, we're in a new week. Ladies and gentlemen, let's keep our eyes open. Let's be aware of our surroundings. Let's continue to take care of our families. Let's continue to share a good and positive message. We are going to take our country back. I am very confident of that, ladies and gentlemen. We all have a role to play. Don't forget that. We all have a role to play. Please do take care of yourselves and family. All right. I love you. I love you. I love you all. And I say to you, over to you, good night. Good evening.